versus 100. I'm your host, Michael Jackson, and boy, we are gonna have some fun today. I've got with me here a boy coming straight from the adventures himself, Tom Sawyer.
Why, howdy, everybody. My friend, Huckleberry Finn, will be here pretty soon as he gets away from Aunt Sally. So for now, I'm going to answer some questions. I'm gonna win myself some money.
Okay, Tom, are you ready to play? 1 versus 100?
Yes,
Well then, let's get started. Tom, in the first chapter of your adventures with Huckleberry, Huck talks about Aunt Polly. Who is Aunt Polly?
Well, that's easy. I reckon she's my aunt.
That answer is correct. Go, Tom. You won $1.
Yeah, that's right. I'm gonna be rich.
Maybe. Now, next question. In chapter 2, what did you want to do with Jim while he was sleeping under a tree?
I reckon I wanted to tie him up to the tree. That would have been mighty funny.
Correct! You've won $2. Let's keep going. In chapter 3, who told Huck that if he rubbed an old tin lamp and an iron ring together, genies would come?
Me, that was me.
$3. Chapter 4, who does Huck give his money to?
I reckon he gave it to Judge Thatcher.
$4. Whew. In chapter 5, tell me who Huck is describing in this quote. He was most 50 and he looked it. His hair was long and tangled and greasy and hung down, and you could see his eyes shining through like he was behind vines. It was all black, no gray, so was his long, mixed-up whiskers. There weren't no color in his face, where his face showed, and it was white, to make a body's flesh crawl.
Oh, that's easy. The only man I ever seen that looked like that was Huckleberry's pap.
$5. Now, Tom, the questions are going to get harder. Would you like to stop and walk away with the money you have now, or continue to play and risk losing all the money you've earned?
I'm gonna keep going.
Okay, then here's your next question. In chapter 6, what speech does Pap make?
His government speech, 'cause he don't like how the government is run around here.
$6. In chapter 7, what island was Huck heading to?
Jackson's Island.
That's a mighty fine name for an island.
Yes, I reckon so.
$7 for you. In chapter 8, who was on the ferry boat searching for Huck?
Oh, well, let's see. I reckon that was me, of course. And Pap, Judge Thatcher, Bessie Thatcher, Joe Harper, Aunt Polly, Sid, and Mary.
$8. True or false? In chapter 9, Huck and Jim find a dead man on the floating house.
Well, that's true.
$9. In chapter 10, how did Jim end up being bitten by a rattlesnake?
Well, Huck laid a dead rattlesnake on Jim's bed, and the rattlesnake's mate came and bit Jim on the heel.
$10. Okay, Tom, are you sure you want to continue, or would you like to take the money now?
I'm going all the way.
All right. Oh, that means it's time for our first speed round. You will have 1 minute to answer 10 questions. If you do, you will receive $20. Ready?
Yes,
Start the clock. In chapter 11, who says their name is Sarah Williams?
Huck.
In chapter 12, who was on the boat that Huck and Jim snuck onto?
3 robbers.
In chapter 13, what is the name of the steamboat Huck and Jim report about?
Walter Scott.
In chapter 14, what king do Jim and Huck talk about?
King Solomon.
In chapter 15, what lie does Huck tell Jim?
He says that Jim just dreamed that they got separated by the fog.
In chapter 16, what does Huck almost do when he paddles ashore to Cairo?
He almost turned Jim in.
In chapter 17, what family does Huck meet?
The Grangebirds.
In chapter 18, who is Huck reunited with?
Jim.
In chapter 19, the old man Huck and Jim meet says he's the king of what country?
France.
In chapter 20, who scanned pikes about the meeting?
The king.
Congratulations! You've completed the speed round. You won $20 extra. That makes your total $30 so far. Are you ready to continue?
Why, yes I am.
Okay. True or false? In chapter 21, the king and the duke practice parts from Romeo and Juliet, Richard III, and Macbeth.
That's false.
$31. In Chapter 22, who was the town going to lynch?
Sherburne.
$32. In Chapter 23, how many nights did the royal nonsuch play for?
3.
$33. In Chapter 24, why did Huck say it was enough to make a body ashamed of the human race?
Because the people in town believe that the king and the duke are the Wilkes brothers.
$34. In Chapter 25, how much money did Peter Wilkes say he left for his brothers, Harvey and William?
$6,000, I reckon.
$35 for you. In Chapter 26, where does Huck hide the money?
His cubby.
$36. In Chapter 27, who was being separated?
Peter Wilkes' slave family.
$37. True or false? In Chapter 28, Huck tells Joanna the king and duke aren't really her uncles.
Well, that's false.
$38. In Chapter 29, what did the real Harvey Wilkes say was tattooed on Peter's chest?
The real Harvey Wilkes said it was his initials, P-B-W.
$39. In Chapter 30, was Huck worried about the king and the duke finding out that he stole the money?
No, he felt easy and satisfied.
$40. Do you want to keep going, Tom?
Of course I do.
Okay, for sure. In Chapter 31, who did Huck write a letter to, but never sent it?
Let's see, that was Miss Watson.
$41. In Chapter 32, what is Huck's new name?
Tom Sawyer.
That's your name.
I know. He just likes my name too much.
Yeah, $42 for you, Tom Sawyer. In Chapter 33, who came into town in a wagon?
Well, that was me.
$43. In Chapter 34, whose plan did you and Huck use to rescue Jim?
Mine, of course. I always got the best plans.
$44. In Chapter 35, what did you and Huck plan on using as light for when you went to dig Jim out?
Foxfire.
$45. True or false? In Chapter 36, Nat thinks he was bewitched again.
Well, could you repeat the question?
True or false? In Chapter 36, Nat thinks he was bewitched again.
Well, I don't reckon so, so false?
Oh, Tom. I'm really sorry, but that's the wrong answer. I'm afraid this is the end of the game for you.
Ah, well, it don't matter. I'm still rich anyways. I reckon this was great fun, though.
Well, I guess it's time to go to commercial break. We'll be back after this message with Huckleberry Finn himself. Stay tuned.
One boy, one runaway slave, one adventure, all to get away from
My pet!
and to get to freedom. Read The Adventures of Huckleberry Finn to find out more.